In this picture of Lake Michigan, below the surface of the water is an example of thermocline, the transition layer between the mixed layers at the surface and the deep water layer. The definition of these layers are based upon water temperature. Lake Michigan is also an example of an aquatic biome. Aquatic biomes are the largest biomes on Earth, since water covers nearly 75% of it. Aquatic biomes can be split into two groups, freshwater and saltwater. Part of the aquatic biome is the thermocline layer in the water. Eutrophication is the enrichment of an ecosystem with chemical nutrients, typically compounds containing nitrogen, phosphorus, or both. It is also a natural process within aquatic biomes, occurring as they age in time. In the deepest portions of Lake Michigan, there is an aphotic zone where there is little to no sunlight. It is formally defined as the depths beyond which less than 1% of sunlight penetrates through the water. Biological magnification often refers to the process where substances such as pesticides or heavy metals move up the food chain, work their way into rivers or lakes, and are ate by fish, humans, and other animals. With the agricultural level in northern Michigan, many pesticides and heavy metals seep into the rivers where they empty into Lake Michigan. Aquatic animals, fish, and humans then are susceptible to consuming these pesticides. A biosphere of some of Earth's ecosystems where there is a diversity and richness in the number of species present. The detrivores, such as worms, consume energy from the non-living organic material known as a decomposer. Deer are a keystone species in this northern Michigan setting. The hole you see in the bark was produced by the emerald ash borer, an invasive species in Michigan that burrows into ash trees. Most of the damage done to the ash tree is due to the larvae feeding, creating the pass under the bark. This makes the ash borer a herbivorous insect. The emerald ash borer is also an example of parasitism, a non-mutual symbiotic relationship between species, where one benefits at the expense of the other. The relationship between the tree and the emerald ash borer is also part of the food web. The emerald ash borer eats the tree, the woodpeckers then feast on all the emerald ash borers inside the tree. The ash borer tree, which is a primary producer, provides energy for the emerald ash borer and the woodpecker both.
The path being cleared on the Windy Moraine Trail occurs in sections of the Sleeping Bear National Lakeshore, showing human population growth because the paths are being worn in by people. Habituation is the loss of responsiveness to stimuli that conveys little or no information. Humans are becoming accustomed to clearing land. The harsh winter climate wears on the path because of the movement of snow, ice, and strong winds. The species living along the trail live in a niche using sun, water, and other animals as resources to survive. One population abundant along the trail were worms living underneath the leaves. Biotic factors in this picture of the beach would be plants growing on the beach, the fish below the surface of the water, and the people walking on the beach. This area of the water shown would be a part of the photic zone, depth of water in a lake or river that sunlight is able to penetrate through. Due to global warming, the water levels of Lake Michigan have increased. Ice from Antarctica and the Arctic Circle have been melting because of global warming and the increased temperature of the air around the world. Abiotic factors would be the rocks, sand, and water, non-living materials. Many animals, like frogs, use cryptic coloration to blend into their surroundings to minimize the risk of being killed by predators. This picture shows the carbon cycle in effect with the atmosphere, photosynthesis, cellular respiration, and decomposition. The water cycle is also present with the rain, runoff, and evaporation, movement of H2O vapor by wind. The nitrogen is cycling through the environment through nitrogen fixation, the conversion of into ammonification, decomposing organic nitrogen, nitrification, the nitrifying of bacteria, and denitrification, which is also nitrifying bacteria. Phosphorus cycle is a biogeochemical cycle where there is movement through the lithosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere. The different feeding relationships in an ecosystem which determines the route of energy flow and pattern of chemical cycling known as the trophic structure.
In this photo of a decomposing tree with fungus, both commensalism and mutualism are present. Commensalism is present because the tree is unharmed since it was already dying and the mushroom is benefiting. Mutualism is also shown because both the fungus and the tree are benefiting. The tree is slowly decomposing thanks to the fungus while the fungus thrives. There is more production efficiency in the tree as to compared to the fungus because of the 10% net loss. Thanks to limits on food length, the fungus is able to thrive. If the food web was really long, then the fungus wouldn't be able to get enough energy from the tree to live and thrive. If there are less fallen trees than there are fungus, not enough trees are present for the fungus to survive. This would be an example of limited nutrients, an element that must be added in order for production to increase in a particular area. In this picture, we see two examples of terrestrial biomes, coniferous forests and temperate broadleaf forests. We tried to study ecology, but there weren't animals responding to their environments, but we can assume when a tree naturally falls down, animals scatter and get out of danger. The interspecific interactions are that a species would run away from the tree and give a warning call for other species to know that they had to get out of the way. In the front, we see logistic growth because small twig-like trees were unable to grow because they did not have enough sun or water because the other trees were taking the resources. This caused a leveling off of their population. Because trees experience this leveling off, new trees will naturally grow with more space in between. During the time we were at the trail, we didn't see any bird species because they were either hidden or had migrated to the south because of colder temperatures. In this area, there is a community of species of white-tailed deer, robins, and black bears. On our field trip, we were behavioral ecologists because we couldn't see all the animals, but we thought of the interactions between each species present in the forest. And thinking of behavior, we believe that the animals will stay away from the space near the path because they have associated it with human interaction. For example, the young birds will learn from the adult birds to stay away from the trail section. At the bottom of the tree, you can see the detritus, all the dead organic matter, making it better for the tree to grow. The tree experienced both kinase and taxis because kinase, the tree branches must have grown towards the light, and in taxis, the small branches and stems grew off in a scattered pattern. A proximate question we came up with was how did the tree grow in that specific way? An ultimate question we thought of was, would the offspring of the tree have the same growth pattern as this tree or not because it was due to an environmental stimulus? The relative abundance of this species is fairly high because there were many deciduous trees in this area.